This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of the Motor City Sports Rant is brought to you by Score, a new mobile app coming soon. Score is an interactive game that lets users win deals at bars and restaurants based on what's going on in live sporting events. Find new places to watch the game and save money on your bill at the same time by taking advantage of Score's unique interactive specials that give you an additional stake in the action. A Score special can be anything a location wants it to be, from 10% off an item if a team scores a touchdown to a free round of drinks if the quarterback throws for 400 yards. Any stat can be turned into a game. Pick the deals you want to win, watch the games you want to watch, and score deals in real time. The app will update when your teams or players record a relevant stat. When the conditions of your deals are met, coupons are sent to your device to show to your server or bartender. It's that easy. Score is coming to the App Store and Google Play very soon. For more information, check them out on the web at score-app.io and follow them on Twitter and Instagram at ScoreDeals. Score. Watch games. Score deals.
Detroit is the greatest! Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Darren McCarty comes back with Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What's up, everybody? It's snowy outside. Probably while you're listening to this, it might still be snowing, but you're listening to the Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. As always, I am Jason Jarvie. Follow me on Twitter at Jarvie the King, and with me, as always, is somebody who just beat his cousin in fantasy football, John the Doc Macaroon. How's it going, sir?
Sitting here with a huge smile on my face. What a way to enjoy a Sunday night football game. You know, if you followed along on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, you had seen that going into the final game, I was up by 5 or 6 against Cousin Adam, and I needed Martavis Bryant to not do anything. Basically, don't get a touchdown. And so as the game progressed, early on, Ben Roethlisberger was throwing the ball a heck of a lot. Each play was a pass play, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And there were a couple plays where the Baltimore defenders were just kind of giving a lot of cushion. At the same time, Bryant was getting points for the return yards. But later in the game, as he made mistakes in the return game, as he kind of showed a little bit of lack of effort on some plays, Ben Roethlisberger looked elsewhere. And when you got Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, you got to target them. So when I looked at it, I said, okay, I got the lead. This is good for me, but I just can't have a cheap touchdown because that game was awesome in terms of the offensive prowess of both teams. Baltimore and Pittsburgh came to play. Both sides on defense weren't as effective as they would like. But in the end, going into the fourth quarter, Bryant had 4 or 5 points, and he just needed 7 yards for me and Adam to tie. I was up by 1. So the entire fourth quarter, I'm sitting at the bar, hanging out, just going, no Bryant, no Bryant. And there were a couple passes that were intended that were deep to Martavis Bryant, but he's not a real target. In the end, 83-82 victory for the DOC, and I'm a happy MFer.
I do want to throw this out to you, John.
I'm the greatest of all times.
Currently, you're up 83-82. You do not have the victory yet.
There's no games.
There's no games, but you do not account for stat corrections.
I understand.
My brother was
the
victim of this in a couple weeks ago, where he had the victory and then they corrected the stat.
I'm quitting the league.
Tuesday.
If they correct the stat on Tuesday, I'm quitting. I thought about that.
It's not.
I don't care.
It's not their fault, though.
They cannot do that to me. I don't care. There's no stat correction.
It's not something that they choose to do. This is something that the site does on its own.
I don't care until I'm claiming the victory. I won fair and square as of this recording, and I'm taking the victory no matter what, because I'm going to then appeal, because that last play for Jared Goff where he does a pass and they throw it backwards, he lost a point there because of the fact that it was a hook and ladder play. He lost those yards. He was above 200 yards passing, and they called it, they gave him the loss in yardage, so he went under 200 yards. I lost a point, plus he fumbled. I don't care. I'm winning. I'm claiming the victory.
You are the pettiest person ever.
If I don't end up winning, if there is a stat correction that costs me the game, then I'm not going to declare it. I'm just taking the win now and perception is reality. I'm not going to accept a stat correction. I thought about that because I also thought, too, man, Adam should just go in there and do it himself. Shit.
Might as well just start calling you North Korea.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just declaring, I'm already the victor.
I'm the victor.
So you've won like all the Super Bowls in the league, right?
I'm
because
the victor.
it's just how it is. Everything has been a stat correction, right?
But I think this entire year, if I followed it, there was not a stat correction in any of my games. If that's the first one that happens to me where a point gets added or deducted the entire year, oh my God.
Dude, that's how fantasy football works.
I will. Well, what should I do if that happens? Would I have a right to say, look, forget it. I've tried my best.
No,
I
you
quit.
don't have a right to forget it. It would be one thing if they go in there themselves, whoever the commissioner would be. Adam's the commissioner, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Adam would go in there and maliciously change a stat just so he gets the victory over you when it's 1 point. If the site automatically does it, there's nothing you can do.
Now, typically, I didn't ask Adam, but typically, if a playoff game ends in a tie, what's usually the standard of what's decided as to who advances?
I think it usually varies from league to league. I think it doesn't happen too often, but
It could happen.
There's all tiebreakers. I think it might go to bench points, like total bench points. It might go to total points altogether, like your entire team. It might go by a specific, like, hey, what quarterback scored
From
the
your
most
experience
points?
with ESPN, what do they typically do? Just on default?
With us, we have decimal scoring, so it goes to the closest decimal. So we don't ever have any of those issues where it ends up like 83. We have, everything is kind of broken down. The receptions, we have points per yard, so it can go down to as close as that. So we usually don't have any of those tiebreaker scenarios.
Oh man, I hope it's a situation where I gain a point and just end up winning by 2. We both gain a point in the stat correction, but
I mean, it could be quite possible where you say that Goff that he lost a couple points on that last play. I mean, I would see that might be a thing where they go in and correct it and give him the points back.
that would be amazing. But I'm still sitting here with the notion that I'm victorious and I'm going to take the victory. Adam made the biggest mistake, the biggest blunder. I made a minor blunder with a tight end decision. I mean, what are you going to do? They were both ranked the exact same, around 10th or 11th, both of my tight ends. Adam left in the neighborhood of 30 points on the bench by not playing Case Keenum. So he made the biggest mistake, so he deserves to be punished.
Yeah, but that's fantasy football. That's you can't just play every player on your team. You have players on your bench for a reason, and if you are a team that you're good enough that you've amassed all these players, every now and then you're going to have a situation where somebody goes off on your bench, and it's going to happen. You know, with me, I know in my league, I already lost one of my playoff matchups, but I'm rooting for the Miami Dolphins hard in this Monday Night Football game. I need them to at least score some points and not get shut out by the New England defense. Otherwise, I'm out, and I will be so depressed because fantasy football is what I got right now, and because the Lions are just killing me. They're killing me inside football. I almost didn't really care about what the Lions are going to do yesterday because at this point, what can they do? What are they really going to achieve this season?
See, the tough part is when you watch a real good football game like I did watching the Sunday night game, you say to yourself, man, the Lions games are hard to cover because of the fact there's so many mistakes. The entertainment value is really tough. I mean, you got to be really diehard to sit there and watch a Lions game where there's interceptions, there's a lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes. I understand basically you're playing a 3-4 win team in Tampa Bay. They're not that good. So what everybody expects is the Lions to go in there and kick their ass. Everybody wants them to play good. Stafford, don't throw any interceptions. Throw the ball all over the place. Let Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Ebron get some stats, get some numbers under their belt. But again, a team led by Jim Caldwell is going to keep a game close. They're not going to be able to pull away from most teams. So it makes it really hard as a fan to sit there and watch it. But all in all, let's be positive. They won the game.
Yeah, they won the game, but they should have won that going away. I mean,
Jason, a W is a W. At some point, you got to say, look, teams in the past, the Lions, you know, as an organization,
a W if they barely make it into the playoffs or barely miss the playoffs and we bring back our coach?
You're parsing into two different things. Okay, if we just focus on the game, Lions versus Tampa Bay, they played as good as they could do in order to get the W. So that's fine. They're 7-6. But if you're going to ask the question, how do you rate the Lions? Obviously, they're not a good playoff team. They're not a team that's going to go deep. This version of this team is not peaking. And I had asked the question, what is the most frustrating part about this version of the Lions? And my answer is simple. When you watch the Lions now, week 4 till now, have they gotten better? No, they've kind of stagnated. They actually made some adjustments, and they finally recognized, oh shit, we don't got a running game. Amir Abdullah sucks. They benched him. That's a huge plus.
Yes.
I was very happy to see that. Theo Riddick got the ball, was able to do some things, and so they recognized, look, we can't run the ball effectively. Our offensive line is not capable of opening up enough holes, so what did they do? They had Stafford throw it a lot more, a lot of shorter passes. They utilized Theo Riddick in a proper way, and so they adjusted finally. But the problem that you're seeing is the mistakes continue in a lot of different areas. I mean, the offensive line, it seemed like every time there was a chunk play, there were 3 or 4 offensive holds that cost the Lions big time. Stafford, late in the second quarter, with the Lions driving, with an effort to make the lead from 7 to 10, throws an awful pass that a guy at his caliber should never throw. So you look at it and you say, oh man, this Detroit Lion team, they're not thriving. They're not doing things that a successful playoff team could do. And in the end, perception's reality. The Lions can play decently against the crumb bums of the NFL. They're in that category, which is an improvement overall from where they were 7 years ago, where they wouldn't compete even against teams like Tampa Bay. Some of those games would be losses. But when you start to further evaluate the club and where they at, are they on the trajectory of a playoff team? No, right now they're on a trajectory of an 8 to 9 win organization that can get to the postseason, but they don't have the tools or the pieces yet to win a playoff game. I guess you would say that it's Bob Quinn's fault more than Jim Caldwell, but the news that came out on Sunday was really, really great for Lions fans, knowing that if the Lions fail at any point, basically the next loss, Jim Caldwell's gone.
Yeah, it's just, I'm so tired of having to make excuses for this team.
You don't have to make excuses. The fact of the matter is, they're not a playoff team. They're not really a good team. And so you kind of know, though, the direction they got to go in. You see the pieces there. The question that we got to ask is, do you have faith that Bob Quinn can make the proper decisions to take this to the next level? Year 2 added a lot more questions to his job in terms of his evaluation, in terms of the fact that Jim Caldwell might still be here. But I kind of still feel like the Lions are on a better pace in terms of moving towards victory than they are moving backwards. The problem is, when you really evaluate it, do you have the head coach in place that can win multiple playoff games with this regime? And most people believe no.
No, and now that we start talking...
What most frustrated you about the game versus Tampa Bay? What was frustrating? Was it just seeing the way that they make mistakes, that they kind of
it
plot along?
It reminded me a lot of old Lion football of... I'm not going to kill Stafford for his interceptions, because he's had a very good season so far.
Go Lions! Yeah!
Only 7 interceptions up until this game. So, he was due for a game where he had a couple bad decisions. It's just on those drives when you feel like they're actually going to score or get some points, and then you get a turnover, or you make a play on a 3rd down and we get a personal foul, or we get a holding penalty, and it's disheartening as a fan. And I feel like we're watching the Millen era all over again.
You go out there, you find a free agent offensive lineman that you think could come in here and help the team, and TJ Lang, quite frankly, has been a bust.
Now, what I would say with that is I wonder if there is a disconnect between Bob Quinn and Jim Caldwell, because I think Bob Quinn sees what this team is, and he sees this as a passing team. We are a team that we need to focus on.
It's a passing league.
Building around what Matt Stafford can do. It's not like he went out there and got these big, huge run blockers in that they have in Dallas or other teams that can actually effectively run the ball. I mean, TJ Lang and Rick Wagner were both upgrades at their positions, but TJ Lang, the guy he's a very good guard as a pass blocker. He's not a run stuffer. He's not a lead guy. I mean, he can do all that stuff, but when you look at how he's rated among the league, he is a more effective pass blocker than he is a run blocker. So I think the disconnect then is the coaches think that they need to go to more of a run game. You already know that Jim Bob Cooter, he had to study coaching the run because he didn't know how to do it. You have two sides of thoughts. You have one guy who's trying to build this team the way it probably should be going, and then you have another group in the coaching that they're just stuck trying to
force feed the running game and establish the run.
The running game and an old school thinking of football, of having to really pound the football to get the passing game going, when really you could not run the ball and have all those short passes effectively be your run game.
Jason, they're watching the film, okay? So they notice that the defense has holes in it. I don't believe that the Lions are completely ignorant to their holes. So you recognize, okay, when you have a hole in the defense, when there's a scenario in which some talent has been injured, like a Haloti Ngata, it's a major injury, and the Lions' rush defense and the numbers in terms of stopping the run have gone way down without Haloti Ngata. The team was much better with him on the football field, obviously. So they recognize that, and so they say to themselves, how do we keep our defense off the field? When you pass the ball that much, you increase the chance of turnovers, you increase the chance of mistakes, you're wearing down Matthew Stafford. I mean, I don't think they want Matthew Stafford doing what Ben Roethlisberger did on Sunday, throwing the ball damn near 66 times.
You're wearing down the defense, though.
But they recognize that the defense can't stop a lot of people, so how do you try to keep the offense on the field? You control the clock, you slow down the game, and try to establish a running game. I do believe that most professional football teams that are successful can run the football. I mean, you have to. I mean, look at the Baltimore Ravens. Collins was doing some amazing things. The Pittsburgh Steelers have Le'Veon Bell. You can control the game with the running game, but I'm thinking that the Lions were trying to see what they actually have in Theo Riddick and Tion Green. They know what they have and what they don't have in Amir Abdullah. That's why his ass got benched. So I understand the thinking of why you want to control the game with the running game. I understand that concept, but when you recognize you can't do it, the question is, why the hell can't you execute a running game after 4 years? What the fuck?
And when you're so stuck on first and second down run plays, I was so tired of it being 3rd and 8, and that was listening.
Yes.
I got to listen to Dan Miller on the radio broadcast, and they're just like, you can't be behind the sticks every single time on 3rd down. You're not going to win football games like that. And yeah, you're right. You can do that against the Buccaneers and the Bears and the Browns, and you can run it all. You can get behind all you want and then come back in those kinds of games. But you're not going to do it against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons. The last two of those are the two teams who are in front of you in the playoffs right now. And at this point, we're more than likely going to be looking on the outside of the playoffs. I mean, we're really going to have to hope for a collapse by the Atlanta Falcons at this point, if we want any hope to get into this.
And you got to win out. That's the tough part, is with the Detroit Lions. If you just focus on your own business, nobody would say definitively that they're super confident that they can even defeat Chicago. I mean, game by game, that's how we got to look at it. Chicago's next, then Cincinnati, then Green Bay. And it's looking like potentially that Aaron Rodgers will be appearing in that final contest that could ruin the Detroit Lions season. You got to win out. And so can they do it? Yeah. Can they get to the postseason? Of course. No one would be shocked either way. But the thing that's most concerning is, do you have faith that if they got to the postseason and played the Saints team or played a team like the Carolina Panthers,
play the Rams more
or
than
play
likely.
The Rams, if you played a team like that, you're probably going to get your ass embarrassed thoroughly. And that's the part that highly upsets people, and that's the part that you really are concerned with the Detroit Lions. They're not getting better. They make the same mistakes game in, game out. Every game's going to be close, and you don't want to see Matthew Stafford decline in any kind of way, shape, or form. With the money that he's making, unfortunately, we were a little bit nervous regarding his hand injury, but he came out and he did pretty good. So it was a scenario in which there were some good things, though. Eric Ebron got on the field and was doing some things. I mean, he had a drop and a fumble, but all in all, he had a decent day. And I want to ask you this, because I'm starting to recognize as a psychologist, when you watch a guy like Eric Ebron, right away, you can tell the team is trying to overly hype him. He's very insecure. I think Eric Ebron is the most insecure professional athlete that Detroit has ever seen. Right after the game, he's tweeting out most hated with an emoji. Look, dude, you just got to go out there and perform. And I asked the question at Detroit Podcast, what does Eric Ebron have to do in order to turn it around with the fans? Because, yes, he's aware that he's the most hated. He did say, look, I'm never going to be a fan favorite here in Detroit. They're going to focus on the drop. They're going to focus on me, putting the ball on the ground and having the fumble. Why does he care about that when he just had a great game? All you got to do is say, look, I had a good game. I got to do a lot more of this to help my football team win. Why does he care so much, one, about the fans? And two, is there an avenue in which you see the fans turning around and supporting Eric Ebron? Because the team, they called him a pimp, they called him a boss, an OG, a man among boys. But the way I would look at it is slow your roll. You did it against Tampa Bay, one game. Nobody cares, man. Do it consistently over a period of time and stop worrying so much what the fans think. Once you perform, score touchdowns, stop dropping the ball, stop making those mistakes, it'll come around that quickly.
The one thing I will say to defend him on his comments is that you can't control what the media is going to ask. And it was directly asked, how does it feel? You're used to being booed by your fans. So, I mean, it was a direct question, and I think
But Jason, there's a simple answer. I got to perform. I was drafted 10th. I know what's around me, OBJ. I know all the other players that are around me that were drafted that are succeeding. Aaron Donald. I'm in that class. I got to hype myself up. I got to do this. I got to do this more often. That's all you got to say is, I did this. I got to do this more often. Let's keep it going. I'm going to help this team win. That's all you got to say. Stop talking about the fans. That's all you got to do. It's really that easy. But when you're insecure like he is, he's got to feel the need to just talk about the fans and how they boo him and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a little bit wrong in terms of like the Bronx cheer that he was getting, but it's because of the fact that you're dropping the ball. It's because of the fact you put out this persona that you're an OG when you're not. And you got to come out there and you got to perform week in and week out.
So that brings me to my next point is that, you have to just go out there and do it.
Just do it, baby. That's all you got to do. It's real simple in Detroit. Detroit is really a town in terms of their sports in that if you perform, if you're giving an effort and you're not acting like a clown, then we support you. But if you're Eric Ebron and you dance after a first down, after 3 drops, most fans don't like that. They don't like that bravado here in Detroit.
What he's been doing, I think he's slowly, in the past couple of weeks, he has been reintroduced into this offense, and they're giving him a little bit more.
Since he had his kid, he's performed. That's what we need.
And that's what he just needs to do. Before, he wasn't anywhere on the depth chart. I think if the ball was thrown to him, it was just you got a sick feeling in your stomach. Now you don't necessarily feel that as sick in your stomach. You still think something might happen, but he's at least he's up there. It goes. You got Golden Tate, you got Marvin Jones, you got Theo Riddick, and I think he's now working his way back up there into maybe being that 4th target. And if he does this, if he can go the rest of this year, give us, I'm not saying that he has to, have these types of performances the rest of the way, but what it has to be is he needs to make the plays when it counts, when it's a 3rd and long, and we really need to get a first down. He needs to not drop that ball. I mean, and if that's the only opportunity that he gets in that game, he really needs to not drop that ball, because then that is what we'll focus on. Yeah, he brought it up himself that his haters are going to focus on the fumble and the drop. But he had the rest of that game where he did showcase what he's capable of. If in these next couple of games he only gets the one or 2 opportunities a game, he needs to make those count and then make that be what we remember the rest of the season.
Okay, you said that you took in the game mostly on the radio. Did you watch any of the Fox pregame? Did you see them making fun of the Lions? Man, Jason, you miss out on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast.
Dude, I got a kid. I'm watching Sesame Street 24/7.
All right, I want to play this. The Fox pregame did a skit, a funny skit that we taped, and it's been seen now, I think, over 7,200 times on our page. Listen to this skit. This is what they do, talking about the 9 men on the field. It was a national joke, and I caught on to it right away. I was watching it live. It was hilarious. Listen to this.
As you all know, during a crucial play against the Ravens last week, we only fielded 9 players. That's right. That is not a good thing. We need 11 players on the field every play.
What about special teams?
11 players.
What about overtime?
11 players.
It's like field goals.
11 players.
Oh, I know. What about when we're playing in London where they use the metric system?
Good one. It's not a good one. It's 11 players.
Okay, what if the whole other team is all small guys like Jimmy?
In that unlikely scenario, it's 11 players.
11 players. They did a skit. It was hilarious. A lot of people were like, oh boy, now we're a national joke. This is taking on a whole new thing in regards to Jim Caldwell. And then to tie into this story, kind of interesting that the Lions leaked out somehow or another that Caldwell's extension, look, it's only for 2018. Just relax. It's not like we're tied to the man. I found it fascinating on 2 fronts. 1, the timing of it. 2, Are you trying to send a message to Caldwell? At the same time, if this is a guy that you trust to do things, why are you going out there and embarrassing him and putting out this information when you're right there in the middle of a playoff chase trying to get to the playoffs? So I found it kind of odd, one, at the timing of it, and two, were they trying to calm down the noise surrounding Caldwell because of the 9 men? I mean, you got national jokes. Everybody talked about it all week. The defensive coordinator had to answer questions about it. People were just going on and on and on about 9 men on the field. Now it's a national joke. Man, it's just kind of interesting the way the Lions did things this week in terms of how they treated Caldwell.
We've had a bad look on this team for the majority. I mean, the beginning part of the season, I think nobody really expected. But the rest of it has really just soured the rest of the season. Because, we had hopes towards the beginning of the season that, hey, could be the year that we could legitimately win the NFC North. Especially when Aaron Rodgers goes down, you're like, this division is ours for the taking. We already beat the Vikings once. We can do this. And now everything else has happened, culminating in, there's been questions ever since they came out that Caldwell got the extension. And now you get embarrassed on Thanksgiving, and you get embarrassed against the Ravens. It's just, there needs to be some answers. And they may be saving face with the fans at this point because they know that they messed up. They probably shouldn't have announced that they gave him the extension.
Oh, really? You think so?
They're really we talked about it. It wasn't necessary to come out there and really assure him, unless you really thought that there was a problem of the locker room turning on Jim Caldwell in the beginning of the season because he didn't have an extension. At this point, they've taken that away. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of the way now? If they should go out there and win these games because they're playing a bunch of crap teams, but it says even more. This just sets them up to, if they do lose 1 or 2 of these next couple of games, then Caldwell, let him go.
Yeah, let him go. Cut the tie. Many people were fascinated to see if the Lions were going to lose to Tampa Bay. Would they do it today? Would they do it a day after a game where they lost? People were fascinated by it, but they won. Okay, got to keep it moving. On to the next one, Saturday, 4:30. Interesting time and date for the next contest, but versus Chicago, you got to go into it as the favorite. I think there's an opportunity for the Lions to do some things and to actually play really well, but Chicago's playing a little bit good too with Mitch Trubisky. Do you see a scenario in which the Bears leave Ford Field with that victory?
And why not? They played the Bengals yesterday, didn't they? And
I think they dropped over 30 on them.
The Bengals
made the Bengals look stupid.
The Bengals are hurting too. I think they were missing. Oh no, Georgia Loco was in there, but I think Burfiss, he's probably hurt still. But I still think we should win at home. I know they've struggled this year at home, but this should be a win. But I think almost the rest of the way, I think if they go in and they lose the game, it's very, very, very real. If Jim Caldwell getting let go the next day.
Oh, you think so, huh?
It could be a whole. Remember the Titans deal when Coach Boone had to go, undefeated unless he's out of there. So,
oh baby,
I don't know. I think his time is up.
You think so, huh?
I think one more loss is all he's got.
I feel like the loss probably will happen in Cincinnati or Green Bay. I do see one loss in there.
I don't see Cincinnati because of what the Bears were able to do. Unless Joe Mixon comes back, I think you're really looking at that last game in Green Bay, and it's all going to really, I think it's going to hinge on what Aaron Rodgers decides to do and what the Packers decide if they want to shut him down the rest of the year, if the season is lost to just shove him the rest of the year, get him healthy for next year, or if they're really going to make a push to make the playoffs. And Lions fans have to be a little concerned after Sunday. They pull out that win. Some of us were rooting for the Browns to get that one win. I know I wasn't, because I want them to join us in the misery of 0-16. Even though it was the Packers, I would have been happy either way. But with the Packers winning that game, they're right next to you. They have the same record as you. We're all basically at the mercy of the teams in front of us. If Atlanta can get another win, or if we get another loss, it essentially spells that we're out of the playoffs. So if the Packers can be out of the playoffs by the time Week 17 rolls around, I think Aaron Rodgers probably doesn't come into that game, because that it's at home. the Lions are going to want to put a hurting on Aaron Rodgers. So I think it's just going to be a wait and see for the Lions the rest of the way.
Okay, wait and see. Let's see what happens. I'm excited. I'll be at Little Caesars Arena at the tail end of the Oakland-Michigan State game. I might peek over there. Part of me so bad just wants to wear a pimp suit because now that Eric Ebron has been labeled an MF and pimp, I kind of just want to take on that persona, maybe start the pimp's corner or something along those lines. But I'll probably take in the game second half, probably mostly.
Did you take a picture with Eric Ebron? Is that why he's so bad?
No, I did not. Golden Tate, I'm so happy that I broke my own rule in fantasy in that he scored 14 fantasy points.
You listen to me.
I did. I'm a wise man. I listen to those that are smart, but you did make a mistake in terms of helping my boy out. Ben Roethlisberger, 500 yards passing.
You cannot predict 500 yards passing.
You have 500 yards.
And Stafford had a pretty decent game, though.
Yeah, he did. He had 20 points, but he was going to lose anyway. I don't think that just the one player was going to help him out, but it was kind of funny to see watching at the bar, just seeing Ben Roethlisberger zing the ball all over the place. What a quarterback. What a team. Wow.
I love watching Antonio Brown. That guy is so good. He's so fun to have on. I've had him twice now on my fantasy teams.
Oh, my God. He dropped over 30 points.
Dude, the guy, you put him in your lineup.
You feel good.
He's just going to do good.
And he produces.
No matter what, even if you're in the third quarter and he only has 4 catches for 60 yards, you know that he's going to be good and he's going to get something.
All right, let's take our first time out. We'll come back. We got to talk about Michigan State basketball. It looks like they're not going to be the number one team, but they're still going to be highly rated, coming off of some losses to some national powerhouses. Duke lost, and so Michigan State is highly ranked, and they have a good week ahead for them. We'll talk about what we expect for the 2017 Michigan State basketball team coming up right after this. Jason, I want to tell you about our host site, Podomatic.com. When Adam and I first started this project, we were looking for a place to host all of our recorded audio. And thank goodness we found Podomatic.com. It's the only place we've put all of our recorded audio, and we've recorded now 700 to 800 weekly podcasts. I mean, you and I, we banter, we do podcasts. Adam and I, Vito, Jerry, Steve, everybody that's done podcasts has really raved about, wow, you guys do a great job. You put the product out really quickly. Everybody can hear it. It's really easy to find the Podomatic app on the Apple Store or Google Play. Super easy to utilize. And when you have a great host site, then all of your listeners and supporters across the country and even overseas can dial it up and keep track of what's going on in Detroit sports. If you're looking to start a brand new project, you want to start a brand new podcast, you got to find a quality host site. Because if you find a place that doesn't let you generate good links, then nobody's going to follow you. You're going to lose supporters real quick. Doc and Jock, Jason, Vito, all the hosts on the network, we recommend one host site. Go check out Podomatic.com. I wanted to keep it rugged this week. Fantasy football playoffs. People are excited, Jason. You gave me that look like the Ushka Ushka look. Like, what the hell are you doing? It's good music, man. Don't get you fired up.
This is
Gridiron.
This is football. We're transitioning here.
Yeah, but it's
Going
gridiron,
to
baby.
basketball.
I want to keep it going. The words are coming to me today. I feel like I'm having a great recording. I'm having a good time talking to you. And plus, people are talking about football being a man's game. And, Mitchell from Pittsburgh came out and was saying things like, I play football, damn it. I'm a man. And I'm tired of this nonsense of all these penalties and defenders can't do shit. We can't tackle anymore. We got to try and fight our way to tackle somebody who's going 50 miles an hour at us, and we got to try to figure out a way to make these tackles. This is a man's game, and podcasting is a man's game. So I wanted to roll into the next segment feeling strong, and that music the NFL themes music just felt really good. So sorry I overrode your decision. I know you were in the hip-hop mode, but I'm in the gridiron mode. Plus, week 2, barring any stat corrections like we said earlier, I'm going to go advance to the semifinals, and it'll make it even sweeter because I'm going up against the number 1 seed as the 6th seed, the underdog, Adam's wife. And I'm going to take her out, and I'm going to win. I'm winning this as a team that didn't even draft my own team. As a situation where I bitched and complained. I didn't draft my own team, and Adam's like, look, see, but I'm a 6th seed, and I defeated the number 3 seed. I'm the comeback kid. I'm the ultimate warrior, and I'm going to take this to the house and maybe even add another belt to that wall with the winnings.
You'll buy yourself a belt? You won't actually earn a belt?
Exactly. I'm going to try and absolutely win this league, because if I win a fantasy league ever, forget about it. Oh my God. You see my overinflated ego. It just might.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to fit into your office anymore.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about the Michigan State Spartan basketball team. A lot of hype regarding this team. You and I watched, and right now I think they've only got that one loss to Duke.
Yep.
People are kind of looking at this team and going, oh boy.
It's a little questionable that they're not number one.
It is a little bit questionable. But
Villanova, really? I get that you're undefeated, but your only big win against Gonzaga? Come on.
Why? Listen.
Yes, why? Why
end,
do you get credit for beating LaSalle?
I know, but I don't think they wanted to give
St.
State
Joe's and Penn.
Giving State credit for beating Southern Utah. So these early schedules, I understand they're a little bit puffy, and they did get to see what they look like against a Duke, and left a lot to be desired. So I understand that people have expectations regarding Michigan State and Tom Izzo. A lot of people. First and foremost, I want to start with this. Do you feel he needs that second national title to be validated? I mean, you got national pundits, you got media when they critique Tom Izzo. They say, look, this man's done a lot for the program, stabilizing force, really one of the top 5 all-time college basketball coaches, but a lot of people just have the one title. It validates your program and yourself when you get that second one. I totally don't agree with that at all. It's really hard to win a college basketball national title. I mean, you got a tournament run. Izzo's been to the finals a couple times. He lost that contest versus North Carolina, at Ford Field. It was tough, but he's consistently done some things, up until recent times. I think maybe even 2 or 3 years ago, every 4-year class that stayed with him was able to participate in a Final Four. I believe he cemented himself, his legacy, as a quality college basketball coach. But there's another question you got to ask is, do you believe that he can take the program, and can you call it a program like Duke? No. There's only one Duke. There's only one Kentucky, one Carolina. You're creeping up into the top 4 maybe of programs in college basketball, but those teams win titles, and that's reserved for the super elite status, okay? So it's not an offense that I don't think that Tom Izzo and Michigan State is super elite. They're a super solid, above-average college basketball program that will give its supporters a lot to be happy about. But is Tom Izzo Krzyzewski? No. Is he John Calipari? No. Is he Roy Williams? No. But is it offensive to say that he's right there, right up under there, number 4 or 5? Absolutely not. But I do believe he does need to get that second title to elevate himself and Michigan State into that rare stratosphere of super elite. I think he's a great coach.
Very correct. And
thank you.
It's always in this argument, it always comes down to how you define words. When people throw around great, is Tom Izzo a great coach? I think he can be a great coach, but when you try to list these coaches on where they stack up next to each other, I think there is that gap between the Duke, where with Krzyzewski and Roy Williams and Bill Self and John Calipari. These are coaches who have multiple championships,
and that's the measuring stick.
They have multiple championship games, not even winning there. So that's the difference between those two coaches. Yeah, he'll go down as a great coach, but being Spartan fans, we have to step back a little bit. And I know some people aren't capable of doing that. You're blinded by your green and whiteness, and it's okay at times to do that. But it's similar with Michigan and Bo Schembechler, that they just have this image in their mind of this great football coach that he never really he never won a national championship. He won Rose Bowls and he did great stuff for the program. He's made it what it is today. But in the end, I would say Nick Saban and Urban Meyer are both better than him.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
That's the situation that you're in with Tom Izzo, that he does have a championship, but there's a lot of coaches who have one championship. It's the way, it's the nature of things. The Kevin Ollie from UConn, his first season as a head coach, he wins a national championship. So is he as good as Tom Izzo? I think Tom Izzo still probably has all the years of experience, but they both have a national championship. So what really is the difference?
My assessment of the program is really tough because I was really let down by one pursuit of a player, and that was the pursuit of Jabari Parker. I mean, he was talking about wanting to play close to home, wanting to be at a program, and I thought then that pursuit was going to land for Michigan State. And so what Tom Izzo struggles with is the big-time dudes, the big-time dudes.
Jabari Parker, the Josh Jacksons.
They go out and they go to the national programs. They didn't go to Michigan State. Now, Miles Bridges is a national player, but how many national elite players has Tom Izzo recruited to Michigan State where you say they're like one of the top 3 players in the entire country?
Yeah, we only get those every couple of years. We will get one. You have Miles Bridges.
Yeah, you had Jason Richardson. You had
Zach Randolph.
You've had players that can go into the NBA when they stay and develop, no problem about it. But Draymond Green wasn't considered nationally elite, like a top 10, college basketball player.
I mean, where he was drafted, you see where
they thought about
he went
him.
In the second round. And people were even questioning if he was going to be drafted, and now you see what he's become on Golden State. Part of that's probably the system that he's in.
He's in Golden State, and he's worked hard and made himself into a solid rebounder, defender, and a glue guy, a guy that brings the attitude, brings the pain a little bit, some of the nasty side of basketball that you need, that swagger. But with Michigan State, that pursuit there, specifically to me, was really disappointing when he decided, when Jabari Parker decided to go to Duke. It was really disappointing because I thought that would maybe stem the tide and turn the tide a little bit so that we get more of them. And so what Michigan State tends to do is they bring in guys that they can develop, and they, over 4 years, can become productive players. But I want to see more talent like Miles Bridges year in and year out. I know it's really hard to do.
I think that's just the nature of the program, though.
Yes.
The teams like Duke and Kentucky, they've embraced
pipeline to the NBA.
They've embraced the one and done, and that's just not what Michigan State has done. I think Miles Bridges might be the outlier that, he actually came here. He should have been a one and done, but he came back and wanted to play more. And I think it will help him in the long road that he'll be a more complete player when he goes to the NBA.
Okay, so you and I agree exactly where the state of the program is. Do you think, though, that Tom Izzo needs to get that second title to kind of clear the air and put him into that stratosphere?
Absolutely. And
number 2, baby. Let's get it.
This has to be the season. If any season, this has to be the one where he gives everything. He just...
Here's the thing, Jason.
I can't say it anymore.
Yeah, here's the way I'll put it, okay? I do believe this is a Final Four team. It's a team with supreme talent. They can do some things. But at the same time, would you be surprised with an early exit? I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And at the same time, then when you project what Michigan State can do against solid teams, I get nervous. Against the Kansas, Kentucky, Dukes, I get really nervous because here's what tends to happen. I said it last time. They have these scoring droughts. They have these situations where they turn the ball over way too much. They make a lot of mistakes in these big marquee games. I don't understand why. You had a scenario in which you played North Carolina and you destroyed them. You made them look average. You played them and made a Roy Williams team look like they didn't belong on the court with you. Why isn't that happening a little bit more in these big-time games? I would have liked to have seen that versus Duke. And I would like to kind of change the narrative that Duke owns Michigan State, but we can't. And if you look at it, roster to roster, Duke's better. So if it's a national title game matchup and it's Duke versus Michigan State, and I hope that it is, I still would give the edge to Duke and Krzyzewski. He just owns Tom Izzo, and I would love to see it if Michigan State is to win it all. I'd love for it to be against Duke. I don't want it to be against anybody else because that would also kind of put a rocket ship and strap it to Tom Izzo's back and put him right there in the forefront of maybe even a top 3 all-timer of all time.
Yeah, and I think really what's going to drive this team this season is the play of Miles Bridges.
Miles is amazing.
I think you're going to go as far as he's going to take you. If we do make it to the national championship game and you're going up against Duke, the one way that you're going to win is Miles Bridges goes
dominating.
off.
Miles Bridges goes off. But Cassius Winston has done some things when Miles Bridges went down. He's kind of evolved his game and is able to shoot the 3 and get his shot and actually run that offense pretty well. I'm pretty impressed with Cassius.
When they are shooting, we have a host of players on our team who can do something.
That's
Cassius
the difference.
Winston, Jaren Jackson,
yes.
Nick Ward. You have guys who
multiple offensive threats. Yes,
but it all depends on if they're hot or if they're turning the ball over and just bricking up threes.
Yeah, and then the other thing that coach speak, if you listen to Tom Izzo and Greg Kampe and a lot of these college coaches, they'll say the same thing. Offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, limiting the opposition to one shot. If you miss your shot, getting that second chance is really key in a lot of these games. They're really tight games. When you really watch, you see the difference between those teams that are successful and those that aren't. the teams that rebound and get a couple extra chances, a couple extra possessions, and those teams that lock down on defense and can get stops, those are the teams that become elite. And sometimes Tom Izzo chirps a little bit in that, better teams, better rebounding teams can do some things against his players. But at the same time, throughout a season, what makes Tom Izzo great is he gets that shit corrected. In that if he sees his team slacking and rebounding, they get into some drills that really emphasize that. And so you really look at Michigan State's rebounding and defense, they're right up there too as well. And that's the tenacity you saw versus North Carolina.
And that's what good Michigan State teams do. They rebound. They're sound defensively, and that's what Izzo teams are known for. They're not known for going out and just blowing out teams. They're the blue collar, they're hardworking, and they're gonna beat you physically.
Are you ready for the hot take of the network?
I don't know, maybe. Let me hear it. Is
March?
Lonzo Ball coming or
no
LaMelo Langelo coming to Michigan State?
March. Why not say it? Put it out there. March. The tournament comes around. Michigan State plays really well. In April, Michigan State will be celebrating with the national title. I'm going to say it, put it out there right now. Michigan State's going to win the national title. You and I are going to celebrate a championship in East Lansing, have a good time. Two married dudes having a great time in East Lansing, partying it up, reliving our youth, because you deserve to see what it was like. I experienced it in 2000. It was fucking awesome, partying at Cedar Village for 8 hours, dancing, having a good time, cheering, chanting. Everybody deserves it once in their lifetime. Now, you're not going to get the opportunity actually as a student, but as an adult, it's way better because we can have more fun, and we're going to celebrate a Michigan State national title in basketball. We're going to win it all. One shining moment's going to be played. We're going to have a good time, and we're going to celebrate it like kings.
Yeah, if we win the national championship, I will burn my couch.
Yeah, but if it's and we'll periscope it. But if it's against Duke, I wouldn't bet any money on it. Let me just say that. Hot take of the network for this week: Michigan State's got to win it all, baby. Let's do it. I'm getting excited to see what this state team can do, and I'm excited too because it's this week. Okay, I know last week I joked regarding being a fanboy, but now I do come to you as a professional. You have been in these press conference scenarios. You've actually gone to Allen Park and been around professional NFL ballers. I'm going to be covering the Michigan State Spartans, my team, the team that I'm passionate about, a team that I love, that obviously, as you just heard, I got a connection to, and that they provided me with great memories, really in the last decade with all the NCAA appearances, great ball games, great comebacks. So now I'm going to shift my attention starting Wednesday, because I'm always a state fanboy, always. You guys know that. Starting Wednesday, I got to change my role a little bit and calm it down and be a guy that can present information regarding the Michigan State basketball team. Any tips you can give me, because I'll be in a room probably as close as you and I are now across this table from the Tom Izzo after the game, presumably after a victory. What are you looking for? If you were to look at our page and look at the coverage, what would you look for? A question?
What I would do is, as you're watching the game, take notes, craft one good question. That's because that's usually all you're really going to get. And as a smaller organization, that's all you can really hope for at this point. Get a good question that isn't going to be answered in a Free Press article or an MLive article. If you have something that is just, it's what the listeners want to hear, and that's what I've always taken with sports radio in general is,
what do you want to know?
What do you want to hear? What do you want to listen?
So is there something outside of the game? Because most questions are, hey, what'd you feel in this situation? What about that rebound? What do you think about how Miles played today? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Is there anything outside of the specific game that's on your mind with the Michigan State program, maybe program-wise or Izzo-wise or anything like that at all?
What I might shoot for is maybe ask them about the Big Ten season, because that's going to be what's coming up. And that's going to be the bulk of the rest of their season is, what are they looking for going into this Big Ten season? Obviously he's probably going to give you something about, taking a game at a time, and that they just have to, approach each opponent as they come. But, just craft something. You're good at this. You've done a great job on your one-on-one interviews. So I'm sure that you'll come up with something great to ask the legendary coach Tom Izzo.
Do I need to ask him something? Because what I've done in the last couple of pressers is sit back and listen, because I had an opportunity to go to Detroit Mercy to see Bakari Alexander's first game. And I kind of got a sense of how Tony Paul and Sky Kirstein, producer at Fox 2, kind of formulated questions and got some things out, knowing that Bakari and the UDM program was trying to not give out a lot of information. So they kind of asked questions. They worked around it. So I got a chance to sit back and listen. Vito asked a good question kind of about defense, about the team. But Sky and Tony kind of asked really direct questions that were answered by Bakari. And so I've been kind of sitting back in a couple of pressers, kind of sitting back and observing what kind of questions to ask and how to formulate it. So I don't know if the first go around with Tom Izzo, I'm going to ask a question, but I really want to. But the thing that I always get, me personally, is my heart starts pounding. I get nervous. Like my mouth gets dry, so I'm going to have water with me. I do get a little bit nervous because I don't want to ask a bad question or stutter. But at the same time, in listening, I've heard people do that as well. They just kind of keep going and kind of formulate it. Maybe some crutch words are used like or and they kind of get through their thought and get through the question. But yeah, I probably won't ask a game-related question unless something is obvious, like a key play or a key observation, maybe about the Big Ten. Or I might even ask the question that we talked about last week about, the program's goals, about, how important is it to, or maybe like the process of where his team is at. Are they getting better, or what are they going to work on to get better? Where are they at? Or I might even ask the question about the Big Ten goals or things like that. Or maybe even about playing at LCA or something like that along those lines as well. But yeah, I'll formulate some things and try my best to not get nervous. But it's going to be an exciting time. I'm super thrilled. I mean, this is the culmination of the 2 years of work. I mean, I get to be covering the two teams that I've been involved with that I know about. Oakland University, that I've been watching now for 2 years, and Michigan State, who I've been watching as a program, for the better part of 25 years.
Well, just
happy man, baby. I'm happy.
Just enjoy it as it comes.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Always enjoy our podcast recordings. Thank you again. I know that we're winding down. Probably we'll do one or two more shows before our little hiatus, because lucky for you in that I think Christmas Eve, Christmas, and New Year's Day falls on a Monday. So you might have a little mini vacation on your hands here from podcasting, give you a chance to reset, get better, and enjoy your time with the family, because I probably will maybe have one or two more shows, and then we'll reset for 2018. But I always enjoy podcasting with you. Like I said, as long as the lights are on, I really enjoy the time that we get to record, bantering back and forth with the fellow Spartan supporters. Thank you very much.
No problem. And until next week, it's the Motor City Sports Rant on Detroit Sports Podcast Network. He's John. I'm Jason. Peace out.
Go green, go white, baby.
Okay, nice, idiot. You. Bye-bye.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.